And we're here with Christan Elverdam from IO Interactive, and he's the gameplay director on the upcoming Hitman Absolution, which is coming out this November on PC, PS3, 360 at the moment. Yes, at the moment. Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, what kind of challenges has the team faced with keeping Hitman relevant to a 2012 audience, seeing that the last game came out 6 years ago?
Well, when we set out to do Absolution, we also started building a new technology, the Glacier 2 engine, and I think that was the big challenge ahead of us, asking ourselves, if you play a Hitman game, what is it that makes it feel like you could that this is something you can only experience in a Hitman game? So that really meant we kind of homed in on this feeling of being in a kind of very detailed and dense world, both in terms of the visual quality, how much detail is in the environment, but also how detailed do we craft the characters that are actually in that world. And that's on two levels. One is how many stories do they tell? Everyone in the game has a name because of contracts, so you need them with a name.
Yes.
And they also have small stories to tell, many of them, that run along as you play in the different segments in the game. And then on top of that, also their reactions to whatever mischief is going on in the level, typically caused obviously by 47 himself. So making sure that it's very nuanced what's going on, and that's really where we needed to take a step forward to the previous games.
Another one would be, you mentioned Glacier 2.
Yeah.
How on earth did you basically get a graphics engine looking like that on 7-year-old technology, possibly more? I mean, it looks great for the consoles. It's seriously one of the best games looking at the show. Just how?
Well, that's also in part why it took some time bringing Absolution forward. We're showing King of Chinatown at the Eurogamer Expo, and it kind of shows a pretty vast crowd in Chinatown. And building that crowd was challenging, both in terms of how do you make sure visually that the crowd characters are, different enough to make it feel like a real, living crowd, but also that the brains on them were actually real brains, that they can react to what's going on. Obviously, that's super challenging. I don't know how we did it. I think that's fairly technical. I think the point is we wanted Glacier 2 to be an engine that we can take now and we can move it forward into the next generation.
Right, okay. I suppose a lot of the uses of the Glacier 2 engine, you've got a lot of filters and colors. Do the colors change a lot between levels, or from to setting the scene? I suppose. Yeah.
Definitely.
Is there different? Did the themes change majorly between levels? Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I mean part of the exploration we were doing is saying, okay, so Hitman Absolution has this road movie flavor. It's in a way it's geographically it's pretty close, if you will. It's not as world spanning as the old games. Right. Because it really fits the story, but at the same time we wanted every level to feel different. So we've both. If you look at the Streets of Hope, for instance, which is in South Dakota in the U.S., it has this really warm, color palette to it. Yes, and then you have the early parts of the game where you have this more dark and rainy Chicago, and then you have other parts of the game that I can't talk about. But all in all, they are actually we really tried to vary both the mood of segments of the game, but also change the environment around quite a bit in step by step as you progress through the story.
Sure. Still staying on levels, is there one level that the team see as a standout level, like Blood Money had the Mardi Gras level, which was a pretty technological standpoint for that kind of time, or there was the variations between the Heaven and the Hell level as well, which I quite loved the game. Is there a level like that, and could you mention anything about that?
I think the fun part is that you actually mentioned two levels when you say is that level like that. No, but I think that is actually the point. I think we have different places in the game that are quite breathtaking in different ways. In some of the previews we've been showing about Hitman Absolution, you see that you revisit the Chinese crowd again, the Chinatown crowd, but this time the level is actually even bigger. Right. So that's kind of, I think the first crowd is actually quite impressive. Yes. and then when you revisit it, you go like, whoo. It's in the nighttime, and it's a little bit of a different game setup. But throughout the game, I think we have some pretty cool moments where it can be, it can be a wow moment in terms of the scale of it. It could also be in terms of the details in the environment, and sometimes it's down to the gameplay that's going on. I really like I think the surprise when you play Run for Your Life, which we've shown a little bit as well, where 47 is on the run. When we unveiled contracts, we showed that in the hippie area there you have this big hemp field, and that field actually hides 47. Yes. So that location is it's sort of a big field. It's a small area, but it has its own flavor, and you find that a lot throughout the game. So I can't really point out anything specific, but I think both some of the stuff we've shown, but also some of the stuff to come when you play the game is actually quite good.
One more question. Okay, you've got David Bateson back on board. Mm-hmm. Basically, what took so long? And part two is it a challenging role this time round for 47? Well,
the first question, I don't really have that many comments on, because I've you need to talk to some of our other guys about that. I think for 47 in Absolution, it's definitely a more challenging time. He is without his handler, and if you think about it, having a handler telling you, this is the layout of your mission, this is what you're supposed to do, this is your target, blah blah blah, then that actually, in a way, it empowers 47 a lot, because you know what you're doing. But on the other hand, I actually think that when you think about him actually making his own decisions, trying to figure out what's going on himself, and then reacting on that, in a way, it makes him way stronger as a character than he was before. So in that sense, we move a little bit closer to who 47 is, and that also means that he's saying a little bit more than he's doing in the old games. So obviously, yes.
Good. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks so much for speaking to us, and good luck with the launch.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.